introduce Father Donald Paul Sullins, and he is going to be our main speaker tonight at our meeting of the Catholic Association of Scientists and Engineers on August the 13th, 2009. And of course, it was the 13th of the month was chosen because that, for some reason, the Blessed Virgin decided to choose the 13th of the month to have her apparition in Fatima. So
that's true, yes.
So she said she would appear from May the 13th to October the 13th. And theologians speculate that she did that in order to destroy the superstition about the 13th day of the month being unlucky. You know, in other words, if something happens on Friday the 13th, people go around scared or something like that. But anyway, that's what some people speculate. I don't know. You have to ask the Blessed Virgin as to really her reasons. But at any rate, we'll choose the 13th of this month for our meeting. And we're having Father Paul Sullins, who is an associate professor in the sociology department at the Catholic University of America. He's also a Roman Catholic priest and the father of 3 children and husband of one wife.
Yes.
And he's originally began as an Anglican prodigy, and decided that the Roman Catholic faith was more was what he wanted to join, and so he was given permission to continue or to be ordained in the Roman Catholic Church. And so Father Sullins has published quite a bit in the sociology line. He also was a pastor in the Anglican Church, head of a school also, and so he's a very well experienced scholar, priest, husband, father, school administrator. So we have a man who is really experienced and has a deep knowledge on this subject, because it goes right to the core of being, which the subject will be his conversion story and the stories of other Anglican priests who decided to join the faith, and just the sociology of that whole group. And so without further ado, I'm very pleased to introduce Father Paul Sullins, who's also an assistant pastor here at St. Mark's Parish in Hydesville. Father Sullins.
Thank you so much, Frank. I was going to add, you got it there at the end, that probably my most important claim to fame here tonight is that for the past 10 years I've been blessed to be associated with St. Mark's Church. It's a wonderful people and pastor, and that has been a great joy. It's the only church that I've served as a Catholic priest, and so every time someone hints, the bishop usually, that I might want to go somewhere else, I disabuse him of that notion, and so far I've been blessed to be able to remain here. Now, as I stand here tonight as a Catholic priest, it's not something that you would have expected if you had met me when I was a young man. I grew up in a Southern Baptist household, and my mother is to this day an ardent Southern Baptist. It wasn't until probably I went to college that I actually met someone that I knew was Roman Catholic. I probably did know some people who were Catholic, but I never knew them as Catholics. Southern Baptists and Catholics where I grew up, and this was in Southern Maryland, we didn't really travel in the same circles.
Of course.
So I knew absolutely nothing about the Catholic faith, except that my Baptist pastor would occasionally refer to Catholics as being superstitious. And we noted that came out just a minute ago. But we talk about the superstitious practices of Catholics and how they would worship Mary, and they would pay money to be forgiven of sins, and that they believed in this magic that happened to respectable beliefs. That was my mindset and my point of view. And yet, but God, by His grace, has brought me from that perspective to see the power and the splendor and the glory of the truth of the Catholic faith. After college, after trying different things to do with my life, felt led to go into the ministry, as we say in the Baptist circles. So I went to seminary. I became a renegade among my Baptist friends because I had encounters with the charismatic movement. And so I ended up going to a charismatic seminary. It was Oral Roberts University Seminary out in Tulsa, Oklahoma. And that was really my first step toward the Catholic faith, believe it or not, because at that particular seminary, they had lots of money, and they believed in getting the straight scoop, you might say, from each of the professors. And so, even though it was a nominally Methodist, very conservative Protestant seminary, we had Hebrew taught by a Jewish rabbi, because they wanted us to learn the genuine kind of Hebrew. And we had ethics taught by a Mennonite. Church history was taught by an Eastern Orthodox professor. We did not have any Roman Catholics on the faculty, but we had representatives of almost every other religion. And so it was and is to this day, I presume, a very ecumenical kind of experience. And it was out of that experience that I ended up becoming involved with an Episcopalian church, and ended up joining the Episcopal Church and being ordained. And in the Episcopal Church, I encountered for the first time liturgy. We don't think about liturgy as Catholics, and we don't think about it being attractive. But it was, for me, very attractive. When I first went to the little Episcopal church that I went to, there in Oklahoma, I remember the service feeling long, because in the Baptist church, the service pretty well ends after the sermon. And so I remember sitting there in my first Episcopalian service, and we had the hymns, and we had the reading of the word, and then we had the sermon. And then I thought, well, the service must be pretty well over. And looking around and getting ready to get up to leave, and I didn't realize the service was only about half over, because we hadn't had communion yet. And so in the Episcopal Church, which follows an order of liturgy which is very similar to what we use here in the Catholic Church, I encountered for the first time what is truly, in a sense, the form of Catholic liturgy. And at first I thought it was a little much, but what happened over the course of about 3 months was that each week I came more and more to look forward to receiving communion. And the liturgy of the Eucharist following the liturgy of the Word. And so much so that when I went home at the end of that semester, and I went home for Christmas, visited the Baptist church, I remember very distinctly coming out of that Baptist church and looking around and feeling as if I'd only been to half of a worship service. Somehow it wasn't complete. And I actually went and sought out an Episcopal church and attended that later that day, just so I could have a complete worship